Hello everyone, I'm Brian, welcome back, let's go ahead and continue.
Please.
Sadhguru, my next question for you is, why can't one husband be with multiple women and one woman or a wife can be with multiple husbands in today's society among consenting adults? And what impact do these people have when they're involved in such relationships?
Okay, why ask this question? Okay, so amazingly enough, watching red pill stuff, they make a kind of a valid argument to a degree, but then also Jordan Peterson made another valid argument. So let me do the red pill one first. So let's do one wife with multiple husbands. So before technology, if that was the case, they don't know who the father would be. Because it's not necessarily the first person, because apparently, your sperm has 3 different types. Fighters, defenders, and the one that gets in. The one that makes it to the egg. I learned that. I seen that. Is it true? I'm not sure. But it makes sense, I guess, because competition, I suppose. And also, apparently, if you... Anyways, there's another thing, but I won't say anything. But anyways, so yeah, one woman with multiple men, you don't know who the father's going to be. One man with multiple women, well, you know who all the mother's going to be, you know all who's the father going to be. And what's the consequences of having such a relationship? Well, you'll have a lot of men or women who won't find someone. So in either one. So for example, one man with multiple women or one woman with multiple men. The man with multiple women, there'll be men without women, and they're going to revolt. They're not going to like that. Same thing with the woman with multiple men. So that is not good for society. It has happened in the past, and but it's powerful men. But eventually, people are going to get tired of it, where there's going to be men or women out there without men or women, and that's not a good thing. They're going to do crazy stuff, I'm sure. So, and the Jordan Peterson argument would be it's not great for society. I guess it's I'm assuming what it's saying here in terms of, I guess everyone kind of wants someone, and if one person ties up so many, there's not enough to go around, and the men who are left out are going to revolt. They're going to eventually outnumber individual men with multiple women, because the men with multiple women are not going to band together necessarily. So while the men without women have a commonality, same thing with women without men. What else? I don't know if this argument would be valid in there too, but a man can impregnate multiple women, where a woman can only be impregnated once. But outside of that, that would be my argument. I'm wondering what Sadhguru would have. That's a practical, but yeah, it's not great for society.
Well, there are many aspects. So historically, there has been a Draupadi who had 5 husbands, all right? This has been a matriarchal society where in many parts of the country, even today in some parts of the country, it's still practiced that 5 brothers are married to 1 woman. These things were done at a certain time when the social situations were such.
For sure.
Or men were married to more than 1 woman. This was mainly because men died more often than women.
I'm sure, yeah.
Today, both men and women are outside, both may get killed, that's different. But at that time, largely women stayed home because she was continuously pregnant. From the age of 14 to 45, 50, she's almost all the time either she's pregnant or she has a young child. This is how life used to be. So because of that, she stayed home and she took care of the property and the agriculture and stuff. Man went out to do business or for war or something else, he went out. So men always died more often. So generally, in most societies in the past, the number of men was much less than the number of women, always. This has been the state all across the world.
Yes, that is actually very true. Even today, I believe there are more women than men. If you watch this YouTube video, I think it's the deaths of World War II or something like that. The number of Russian men that died in World War II is crazy. And I was reading the comments and it said it was I think it was an error in Russia that it's called like the fatherless children or something like that, the fatherless error, because all the men, well, I don't say all the men, but majority of the men were sent to the front lines to die essentially. And I'm not going to reveal the number, but it's really crazy. You see a statistic line, and you don't see individual people. You just see like, you know, number of deaths, both civilian and military. Militarily, it was essentially exclusively men. Obviously, there were some women who did choose to fight in the front line or had to fight in the front line, but there weren't very many. And then civilians, obviously, was just whoever happens to be there.
So naturally, when so many women were there, they needed care and they needed support in the society, and those days a woman could not exist by herself. Unless she is protected by a male partner, it would be very difficult for her to exist by herself because she would be exploited in so many different ways. So always they attached themselves. So naturally a man ended up having 2, 3 women because the population ratio was like that.
But it's also, generally speaking, that a man could provide for that many women. That's another thing too. You can't necessarily just have multiple wives if you can't provide for them, because, you know, it's a death sentence for the family if everyone's not eating properly or whatever. So that's another thing that they have to consider, is the fact that whether I guess that's the reason why powerful men generally had multiple women, because one, I guess there are some women out there who are very comfortable with sharing the man so long as she got everything she wanted. You know, comfortable life, food, or whatever she wanted, you know, she doesn't care.
But now largely it's leveled out. If some individual does it, it's not an issue, but if that becomes a social norm, then how do you decide somebody has whatever, multiple wives, and how do you decide somebody has no wife?
Well, she gave a great point. Is the fact that of consent. So if one man says, "Yeah, I'll have multiple wives," and then, well, he can't force women to marry him or have, you know, to be exclusive to them. If he says, "No, I'm going to have multiple women, so I'll marry only women who agrees to that standard." So say 3 women come out and say, "Yeah, we don't mind," and they can do it. But yeah, that would be the solution to that. And then obviously no man's gonna say, "Yeah, I don't want any women." Of course they're straight, but they cannot force women to marry them. So
this will become a social, collision. It'll become.
Yes.
It'll become lot of problems in the society, because we may act civilized. I'm very particular, I'm very clear about saying we act civilized, but when we are denied basic things that we need, all our civilization evaporates and we will behave like animals. Yes or no?
yes, and that's what I was saying earlier about how Jordan Peterson says it would not be great for society, because men who do not have women is you can kind of see that probably in the United States, honestly, where you have, in a sense, white cisgendered men are kind of being the bad guys right now. Even though, you know, you just generalize all these people, and even though they've done nothing wrong, it's very much racist and sexist. But because there's people on those sides who believe in that are so blind, it's really weird. And when society becomes so easy, you kind of see what's going on in developed areas of countries. The reason why I say developed areas is because it's not something that's exclusive to the Western world, and it's something that I'm noticing, which is very surprising. And some people in the comments have said, like, they hear this kind of people and then reacting to videos like this, where it's like, you know, I thought that was maybe a Western problem, but it's not. So it makes me think now it's more of a developed area. So once your three things are met, food, water, and shelter, life becomes easy in a sense. Obviously, working is kind of hard, but relative to what it was in the past, it is so much easier today.
So, when fundamentals are denied, people will go flashing.
Water, food, shelter. If they're denied any of that, they will go clashing, absolutely. But also, we have our primal instincts of sexual desires.
So, that's not going to work in today's world. And above all, the woman's condition will become very bad. Those days there was no dearth. If you had land, it was okay. You had 5 wives, it doesn't matter. You had 25 acres, it was good enough, everybody ate well and that's about it. But today our requirements are not just about eating, it's about many things. So that kind of thing will lead to lot of complicated situations in the society. It's better to stick one-on-one. And anyway, forever people have been doing their own things beyond the legal relationships.
Yeah,
Things have been happening in the societies. That involves a certain risk. Somebody who is willing to take that risk, that's for them. But others will live within the legal format. It's a balanced society. If you're asking this question in a more existential way, well, see, this is a certain framework of not just of bone and muscle and flesh. There is a certain energy framework. Only because of that, it takes in a certain form. See, if you eat mangoes every day, and let's say a cow eats mangoes every day, at some point, will you or the cow get confused whether you are a cow or a human being? Or will the cow get confused? Such a thing never happens because there is a clear-cut inner framework to which flesh and blood is added. But there is a framework, an evolutionary memory framework is there, it never gets broken, isn't it? So in this framework, how strong you keep this framework, how much integrity is there to this energy framework will determine many things about your life, many aspects of your life. Especially if you want to raise this life to another level of function, it's very important you maintain this integrity. This is why, irrespective of which religion, which spiritual process, if people want to raise them till to a certain point, first thing they will talk about is becoming monks or brahmacharis or sannyasis, because the idea is to create such a level of integrity that this is a whole life by itself, that it doesn't lean on anything else for support, either for physical well-being or emotional well-being or psychological companionship. It doesn't lean on anything, it stands by itself because you want to take it somewhere else. If you want normal function, these things are not necessary. Now you want to become a rocket which breaks through a certain dimension of space. Now you need to be in a different level of force and integrity, otherwise it'll crack up. So you don't want to open your body to anything, and especially opening to multiple partners has its own negativity in that context. How much pain, and you look at Draupadi's life, how much volatility, how much pain, how much suffering she went through in her life, and how much pain and suffering she caused because of her anger and jealousy and whatever else. So, these things happen for variety of reasons. You can't blame everything on that one aspect, but that aspect also has a say in these aspects because you're opening up your memory body, your energetic body, which is essentially ruled by memory, to variety of memories. This will cause a whole lot of turmoil within the system, which could affect that life and many other lives. So Draupadi's life is in a way a sample for that.
I don't know that story, but I'm curious about it. I don't have a pen and paper. Draupadi.
It's not an absolute. This is not an absolute, but this has an influence.
I will say, nothing's really necessarily stopping you. I mean, legally you can only be married to one person, but that doesn't stop people from sleeping with other people anyway, or people from, living cohabitation, For one, I guess you can't. You're not legally bound to. Like, I guess it's not against the law to sleep with multiple people, or to be even probably roommates with multiple people and married to one of them. But yeah, I mean, but again, the whole point is the fact that it's not great for society, especially modern society, and with how fragile the human ego has become, especially once the essentials are taken care of. I mean, you definitely can see it in the United States. I don't know if it's happening anywhere else.
Thank you, Sadhguru.
It's a really weird question coming from her, but
We see that people who want to have children but are unable to conceive one themselves invest a lot of time, energy, and money into fertility treatments. When there are so many kids around the world who are waiting to be adopted, I understand that adoption is not the cure for infertility. It is, though, the cure for childlessness. So, if the purpose is to rear a child, have a child, love a child, provide a home, why not just adopt a child who's already waiting for a home and to be loved?
okay. So for this one, how to answer this would be, I mean, it's how is this? It is the fact. I'm trying to think of an example. I guess let me be straightforward with this one. It's the sheer fact that the child is your own flesh and blood and your own genetics. That is the reason why. Excuse me. And also the sheer fact that the child that you have hopefully is conceived with the person that you love. That you know that this child is a love child between you and the person that you love. And the fact that it's the blood genetics of you and the person that you love. It's a very unique child that has both your genetics. That is the reason why, in my opinion, for me, I would want a child, because it is half my genetics and half the person that I chose to be with. There are people out there who are infertile, but maybe sometimes there is a chance for them to get pregnant. It's not necessarily 100% guaranteed, and they would rather have their own children. And try as much as you can if you want, but there gets to be a point where maybe adoption is your only option. So for people who are infertile, I'm not going to sit there and say, nope, don't try, but try as much as you want, but be mindful of the cost. And then I guess you have to kind of consult your doctor. If they say it's kind of up, it's a little too late now, adoption is always there. But I will say this, most people who adopt want to have babies because they want to see them grow up. And at least in America, let me give the example in America. Because they want to see them when they're babies, take pictures as they're growing up, to be their first time walking, go through the whole spill of a child. And then in terms of other children that are not babies, they tend to be more resentful, just because some of them has gone through the process many times and they feel like they're going to be discarded. So it's a bit more difficult for people who have been adopted before to really blend in with the family. It's very rough. Maybe if you can get them when they're young as possible, and maybe when they haven't been through the ringer or through the system many times, that it becomes easier for them to be incorporated into the family. And there'll always be that longing, I suppose, for children to want to see their original parents and to wonder why they were given up at birth.
See, already many doctors and organizations are trolling me and putting me on fire because I said first thing in India is you must close down all these damn fertility clinics. When the country is exploding with population, God damn it, you have fertility clinics? You need an infertility bomb. So because I said this, I'm in a lot of trouble. Now you try drawing me into more trouble. Yes, this problem again goes back to the first question. This is because you're so horribly identified with your own biology. It has to come out of your body, otherwise it's not yours. It is such a gross way of existence. Unless it comes out of my body, it doesn't belong to me. Well, you're married to a man or a woman, they didn't come out of your body. No, but our bodies are meeting, that's why. See, the identity has become so grossly biological. Unless in some way it's biological interaction, it is not really a relationship. In fact, today, everybody, all of you have picked up these words from America.
Uh-oh.
It just used to surprise me, but now that is the usage. If somebody says, I have a relationship, you are supposed to understand that they have a sexual relationship. Well, I have a relationship with you sitting here. This need not be body-based. Yes or no? We're looking at each other, do we have a relationship or no? But why only body-based relationships are relationships?
I mean, I get it. I guess in the United States, when you have a relationship with a woman, you say, yeah, I have a relationship with her, you generally think of like a couple of relationship. You would say, oh, I have a relationship with her. You wouldn't say that to a friend. It's like, oh yeah, she's my friend. That automatically says the type of relationship you have. As opposed to relationship is a generic term that means, you know, any kind of relationship, honestly, but has kind of moved to a romantic relationship. But yeah, I guess I get it.
Isn't this a relationship? Hello?
Yes. Again, it can be handled both ways. You know, have a relationship with my audience, have a relationship with my coworker. I can see that being taken the wrong way, but you know, you have to be kind of clear. I get it.
Your relationship with biology, leave it. Your parents, your brothers, your sisters, leave that. Your friend, is this not a relationship? Huh? Your milkman who comes and pours milk and makes your life going today, is this not a relationship? Isn't your taxi driver a relationship, I'm asking? No, you're not supposed to say that. If you say relationship, people will assume you're sleeping with them. Yes, unfortunate, isn't it? Relationships are of many kinds. Human beings can form varieties of relationships. But right now, unfortunately, we think only if bodies come together or only if something comes out of this body, it's a relationship worthwhile. Other things are not relationships. No, we have to change this language because this is causing a lot of, pain to people because body is the front end. See, body is the front end for every other creature on this planet. The only reason this creature is dominating this planet is not because we have the best body. You're not comparable to an elephant or a tiger or anything for that matter, you're not even as good as a buffalo. Yes, in terms of strength and physical prowess, you're nowhere comparable. This is dominant because of its intelligence, this is dominant because of its consciousness. But right now, we are creating a world where your biology is the front end of your life. This has to change. Because the biology is the front end of your life, you think your child means it has to come through you. Not that natural childbearing process is a bad thing. It is just that if you were a tiger, if you were a tigress, I would say please go to the fertility clinic soon. Because, it's becoming extinct, huh?
Okay.
Their numbers are dwindling and they may disappear. But human beings, huh? Just too many. We are nice, but we are too many, aren't we? Hello? We're just too many. In the beginning of 20th century, we were just 1.6 billion people. Today we are 7.6 billion people. In 100 years, over 4 times. But in India, of course, we do better than others. 1947, we were 33 crores. Today we are 127 crores. 70 years? Well, this is not just because of excessive reproduction, because our life expectancy has improved. In 47, our life expectancy was only 28 years of age. Today, it's reached somewhere around 66, which is a phenomenal achievement for the nation. It's great. But what I'm asking is, if you postpone death, should you also not postpone birth? Hello?
I would argue against Sadhguru against this, only for a few things. Because women do have a limited time they can give birth. I'm not saying that you have to give birth early on, but there's a couple of reasons. You know, but the thing is, it's not whether you postponed or not. That is completely irrelevant. It's how many you choose to have. That being the most important. It doesn't matter when you have it, it's how many you have. You can have one child at the age of 18 or 35. You still have one child. Or, you know, you can have two children or three children. You know, because you have a baby at a very young age doesn't mean you'll have a baby until you're 35. It's you ultimately make the decision of how many children you have. Doesn't matter at what year you started. But in terms of your career, this is the big thing I think for women, is that if they start a little bit later on in their life, they're having to kind of juggle children and their jobs, and they can't 100% focus on their children or their jobs, unless they're doing like Americans, where they're shipping out children to daycare centers being taken care of by, you know, strangers in a sense. Unless you have family, I think that's fantastic. Honestly, if you have your mother to take care of your child, I think that's great. Keep it in the family, your aunts, your uncles, or whatever. Well, I don't know about uncles, but just, you know, women generally are better caretakers, in my opinion. You know, you see the stereotypical, you know, father, like, with the diapers and stuff. But anyways, but yeah, but if you have it earlier on, and then the child grows up to be 10 years old. Say you have it at 18, the child's 10. The 10 is now pretty self-sufficient, maybe 12. And how old will you be then? 30 years old. Then, and 30 from the rest of your life forward, you can focus on your career, because the child is very self-sufficient around 12 years old now. I mean, children grow up really fast nowadays. But yeah, again, generally speaking, in my opinion, I can be completely wrong. When you have a child, from age 0, when they're birthed, until maybe 10 years old, they're really kind of dependent on, definitely the younger, they're more dependent on their mother. So that's when I think the mother really needs to focus on the child, to care for the child, and not do like what Americans are doing. I'm not saying all Americans, but there are some Americans who, you know, ship their child to daycare. Anyways, this is just my opinion on that. I wouldn't say postponed it. It's not about postponing. It's about how many children you choose to have, irrelevant of when you have it. You can be 35 until 40 and have 10 children. Then at that point, what's the point of postponing? You know, you know, that's just it's the amount of children you have. It's the most important thing. When you have it, how old you have it, when you postpone it, and when you don't, doesn't matter. Let me know if you agree with that. If you disagree, that's fine, honestly. Ultimately, women, you choose when you want to have babies, if you want to have babies.
This is not a philosophy, this is not an ideology, this is simple arithmetic. Yes, this is simple arithmetic. If this many people were exiting, you are in a college right now, this year how many people exit, that many people they will admit, isn't it? Doesn't that work for the globe also, for the planet also? This many people exited, so this many people should come in. If you say this, you think, are you doing animal husbandry with us? Are you doing Hitler's business? This is Nazi talk. Well, you multiply unconsciously,
there it is.
Nature will do it in a very cruel way one day.
Holy smokes! Sadhguru, what year was this made? Nature kind of did, and it's very true. It's very interesting, you know. You know, when things go out of control in nature, nature has a way of kind of correcting itself a little bit. Although I guess it didn't do so much, which is a good thing, I suppose. Can be a bad thing, obviously. It's really, I think it's a bad thing because it's kind of forced. But again, you know, this is something that nature will do regardless of whether we want to or not. There's something else that he said that I wanted to talk about, but I can't remember now.
Yes, if we don't consciously take steps as human beings, nature will do it one day in a very cruel manner.
Sadhguru, you have no idea what you said during this time frame. But the most important thing there, what he said, is consciously do it. Consciously do it. You choose ultimately how many children you want. Accidents do happen, don't get me wrong, but you can prevent ways of doing it by protection or in stuff like that. Don't need to go into that.
And that cruelty won't come like bang like that. It happens slowly. Crushing happens slowly. Already it's happening. Farmers are committing suicide, students are committing suicide, all kinds of people are doing all kinds of things. Why? Somewhere life is becoming hard, isn't it?
Sorry I'm pausing so much, but it's just very interesting questions. Why? It's interesting. In the United States, I don't believe farmers are committing suicide. But students, not necessarily in the United States. It's a bit different. It tends to be external. And then internal. If you know what I'm talking about, what Sadhguru was talking about there. The fact that they take their anger out on the world and then they take it upon themselves. It's because of, well, I won't say society. It's because people, like Sadhguru talks about in his other videos, about reading the manual, understanding yourself. How we've become so fragile because things have become so easy. Again, a famous saying is, strong men, I'm not really quoting it properly, but strong men create easy worlds or easy lives. Easy lives create weak men. Weak men create hard times. Okay, here we go. Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. Hard times create strong men. It's a cycle, and this is kind of what's going on in the United States. Again, when those three things are met, it's an easy life. You have the three essential things that you need are taken care of. Sorry, I talked so much.
Though as a generation we have highest levels of comfort and convenience, life is becoming hard simply because of the concentration of population. We are doing all kinds of ecological nonsense. But right now United Nations is making a prediction by 2050, we will be 9.6 billion people. Madam, you have to raise your floor 50 floors. No, this won't be enough 50 floors you must raise because they will be full like ants everywhere. 9.6 billion people. Nobody can live well on this planet. Instead of making a prediction like this, we will be 9.6, why can't we plan? By 2050, we will be 3.5 billion people. Oh, what should we do, what should we do? If you don't do anything, population will go down.
My next question.
Okay, I'm actually gonna pause the video there. I talked so much in this video, but it's a very interesting topics they picked here. Again, something that's not been talked about in other ones, although some are similar. So there's one thing I remember now that I forgot to say is that I think in the United States, again, something in the red pill movement they talk about was there's this very. So if you don't want to hear me ramble, end of the video. Yeah, I'm just going to be rambling now. So in the United States, I believe they said that there's this firm group that wants to know what to invest their money in. And in the United States, I believe women makes the majority of purchases. So in a sense, this research targeting women. And again, fact check this to crap because I'm just hearing this and I wouldn't doubt it to be true. But they're saying that what is it? That there'll be so many single women over the age of 35 that are childless, and to invest in things that kind of, I guess, entertain them. I'm not sure in what way, but essentially, I think the number of single women, single childless women, is growing in the United States. So whatever investment is, whatever way you want to make money is to invest in things that they want to buy, in a sense. Because they're, obviously, if you don't have someone to take care of or whatever, you fill that void with materialistic things. It's kind of what everyone does, but perhaps more so with women, I suppose. I don't know. But anyways. And another thing that I hear also is that there are rich women who are freezing their eggs because they're so busy with work that their prime is kind of passing. So now they're freezing their eggs so that they can have babies later on in life. I mean, and I don't know if that guarantees success or not. So if you want to have a child, I guess this kind of applies to not necessarily to men, but to men who want to have children, to and maybe sisters or women out there that you do have a time limit. Nature overall wins. No matter what anyone says, nature will win for the most part. You do have a time frame. The thing that you can control is how many children you have. That being the more important things than having it later on or earlier on. You talk to your doctor to see like when is the prime time to have a child. I think they say 18 to 25. I've heard 18 to 30, but once you're 30 and above, it becomes more and more difficult every year. So I wouldn't say postponing is the answer. I'd say controlling how many children you have is the right answer. Next thing is, if everyone only ever has one baby, the population will decline. So you don't have to deny people having children to decline the population. If everyone can just have one baby, even if it's biologically theirs, I mean that's what people want. I don't, I'll talk about what's Sadhguru's relationship thing. But yeah, if everyone has one baby, the population will decline. If people have two babies, if everyone has two babies, the population will stay steady because it takes a father and a mother to create a child. So if you have one baby, the father mother dies and the one baby is alive. So 2 came to 1. But if 2 came to 2, then it's an even. The father mother dies, then the children will be alive. The 2 children will be alive to replace them on this earth. So 1 children, population decline. 2 children, population's even. So relationships that Sadhguru was talking about, we kind of have a relationship. I have a relationship with my coworkers, relationship with people, strangers. A stranger relationship is a relationship. It's a stranger. But I guess the point most people want is a very specific biological relationship. It's something that you cannot have with anyone else. Well, yes, actually. Not even your mother. You're technically half your mother's genetics and half your father's genetics, but the genetic of a child is half yours and half of a woman. Half of a man, half of a woman. That is a unique relationship, genetically speaking, of course. Again, I'm not going to blame anyone for wanting to have their own children. I myself would want genetically, my own genetic child. But I mean, and for those who want to adopt, that's great as well. There are people out there who actually adopt a lot of children, and they're inspired by that. And then there are people out there who can't have children who do choose adoption. But I think ultimately the real answer to adoption or having your own children is to be responsible. So again, having only 1 child or 2 children at most is I think the real answer in terms to curb the population growth and hopefully curve adoption rates. But yeah. Anyways, I think that's everything. Good lord. I talked a lot in this video. Alright, anyways, that's my reaction to at least part 2 for Sadhguru at Sophia College. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.